Senator, we know how
Yeah,
important...
exactly. Moisture, it's going to be a complete change.
Yeah, we do. We know how important South Carolina is. How do you convince voters in the state that you're the best choice compared to moderates like Joe Biden and Mayor Pete? What specifically excites South Carolina to drive your message?
First of all, do it the same way I'm doing all over the country. We're surging, and it's because from the very beginning, I've said that we need a president that understands that what unites us is more important than what divides us. And we need a president with practical policy ideas that are actually going to help people. My health care plan, it wouldn't kick 149 million Americans off their current health insurance like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's. I'm willing to take on pharmaceutical prices to bring down the cost. And when it comes to South Carolina, I lead the tourism work in the U.S. Senate. So important in cities like Charleston and beyond. And I'm also the only one on that debate stage that actually has the receipts. I have won in Republican congressional districts. I've never lost one. Over and over again. I've won in rural districts and suburban districts. I'm the only one on the Agriculture Committee that knows a whole lot about farming, which is important in South Carolina. So when you look at the economics of this and the economics of South Carolina and infrastructure, you've got to start looking at me as your candidate.
Are you okay with South Carolina and other right-to-work states, given the benefits of having companies like Boeing in the state as a result?
Yeah, I get all that. I think that actually unions, though, make for stronger economies. When you look at, when you have unions there, the wages actually go up and it's better for everyone. And I understand South Carolina has a different legislature and a different governor, but I believe in unions. I also think, though, regardless of that, I think that having incentives for manufacturing all over the country is going to be a priority of mine. I think that a lot of people thought manufacturing was dead in this country. I sure saw that wasn't the case in my state, which has a really strong manufacturing sector. And so I've been, for instance, a fan of making it easier for depreciation of equipment so that we can keep manufacturing strong. I've been a fan of training workers, and I am not for free college for all, like some of my opponents in this race, like Bernie and Elizabeth. I'm more in this camp. Let's look at the economy and figure out how we can make the education system work. That means investment in K through 12. That means, you know what, we're not going to have a shortage of sports marketing degrees in this country. We're going to have a shortage of plumbers. We're going to have a shortage of electricians. We're going to have a shortage of home health care workers and nursing assistants. So that's why I'm in favor of 1- and 2-year degrees being free and then making it easier to afford college by doubling the Pell Grants and making it easier to refinance student loans. I just think we have to connect our education system with our economy. And when you look at the job scene in South Carolina, I think my education plan actually fits it best.
How about gun control? You know, the Charleston church shooting that happened back here in 2015. It's such a big deal and such a big issue down here. You talk about closing the Charleston loophole, background checks. There are many bills that detail gun control up there. Is that a priority for you?
Number one priority. Why? I was actually the one sitting across from the President of the United States when Parkland happened. And I'm the one that asked him to get this stuff done. And I had a piece of paper that I still have that has hash marks on it, how many times he said he wanted universal background checks, 9 times. And then the next day, he met with the NRA and he folded. One of my top priorities is getting gun safety passed. And my bill to close the boyfriend loophole, which says a convicted domestic abuser can't go out and get an AK-47, is sitting right next to closing the Charleston loophole. Such a priority of mine. Those 2 bills are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. And so that's why I go back to my original argument. For the sake of those worshipers and the families of those, I met some of those families from Charleston, of those that were lost to that white nationalist gunman. We cannot have a president that lets 4 years go again without closing that loophole, without getting justice for those victims, without finally reducing gun violence, in addition to mass shootings, also everyday gun violence. I'm a former prosecutor. I get how to get this done. I'm on the Judiciary Committee, and I will get the gun control legislation done that will help and bring justice to Charleston.
We are a very diverse state down here in South Carolina, Senator. It has been said you possibly have an inability to connect with African American community. It may be a threat to your campaign. How would you respond to that? I know you've been well received at many events in Nevada with the Latino and African American communities.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, that's on me. I've got to earn the support of people. I've earned it in my own state. I've always had high support from African American voters and Latino voters. Here in Nevada, where they've gotten to know me, a poll came out today, I'm up to 10% with African American voters. That means a lot to me because I've been focusing on reaching out. My message of economic opportunity, my moderate message actually of how we can move this economy forward. My work with South Carolina Senator Tim Scott when it comes to entrepreneurship and doing more to get startup businesses for the African American community. And then my work in voting rights, I think it's going to make a big difference. And it's on me in this next week to make sure that South Carolina knows me. And that is everything from TV ads to getting out to the communities to making that clear on the debate stage.
How much of a sense of urgency is there for you when it comes to South Carolina with the town halls and the debates and the primary next week?
It is urgency with a capital U because I got 1 week. And I've been building to this. We've had staff there from the very beginning. One of my first visits actually around the country was to South Carolina. And I went to Greenville and went to Columbia and then came back and went to Charleston. Been in small communities as well in the state. And my knack for bringing in rural voters in small towns, really important to me and important for the people to know. So I am just going to do everything I can to get my message out. I get that I'm not as well known as some of the other candidates. I get I don't have as big a bank account, but somehow the people in New Hampshire, which was our last primary, they listened to me and they surprised the country by voting for me, and I came in third. I want to see South Carolina getting to know me in the same way. And by the way, no one expected a peanut farmer from Georgia was going to do well in this country. No one expected Bill Clinton was going to do well. But the early states, and now South Carolina, one of those, they listened. And that's the case I'm going to be making. I want to be that person.
Final question for you. We know these debates have gotten personal, in my mind, too personal. Doesn't the Democratic Party really have to unite if they have any, if they want to defeat President Trump?
Well, in that very last moment of that debate, after what I thought was not a good debate for our party, while some people got to tune in, get to know the candidates, that's always important, I was able to say this. I said, please remember, despite this rough debate, that what unites us is bigger than what divides us. I hope in the South Carolina debate, we're going to spend more time, I know I have tried, taking it to Donald Trump, but also allowing people to get to know me. And you've got to have questions that allow people to answer in that way. Otherwise, it's really hard to do when people spend the whole time going after each other. I think debates are about showing differences, but I think that in the end, there's a bunch of people tuning in that haven't been watching these debates before. They're Democrats, but they're also independents, moderate Republicans, people in South Carolina that don't know us. And I want to reach out, and the debates are a way to do this. So I hope we have a dignified debate while still showing our differences. But I think the people of South Carolina are going to look for something a little different.
All right, Senator Klobuchar, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.